Hello, everybody. It's that time again. I missed you last week, and the reason why I wasn't here is my wife and I took a little time to praise God for 30 years of marriage. But I'm back with your nugget for this week. Passage comes from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 18. With whom then will you compare God? To what image will you liken him? One of the things that I always found interesting was when you went to the doctor. When I went to the doctor as a kid, I spent my life going to the doctor, sickly child. But no matter what treatment I was going to get, there was one thing I always had to stop and allow them to do. They would take your blood pressure and then they'd put you on the scale. For whatever reason, I believe that the scale at the doctor's was a whole lot more accurate than the little scale that was at the house. When I was little, I was looking to see how many pounds I'd gained. I was a $125 for most of my adolescence. And so I was constantly trying to gain weight. And I'd look as that thing on the scale would move over, hoping that it would inch over just a little bit so that I could feel like I was growing up. Now, when I go to the doctor, there's still that special time that I have to get on the scale. But now, I'm hoping that those weights go in the opposite direction, because God has indeed enlarged my territory. Isaiah is talking about the God of heaven. And he comes because Judah has been in love with all of the gods that are around. And he says to them, put me on the scale. Now, back in those days, you could determine how much something was worth by putting it on the scale and then weighing out how much currency or whatever you were going to trade until the weight of what you were going to trade matched what it is you were trading for. That's how you determine its worthship. Right about now, you got it. That's where we get the word worship from. It's when we put something here and we put other things that we have and we determine if this weighs what that is, and that's how we determine how much something is worth. Well, right now, Isaiah is talking about the God who has measured out oceans in his hands. He has turned the earth around in his fingertips. And this God is upset because Israel has been worshiping gods of wood and stone. So to get their attention, the God who spins planets, the God who keeps the earth out on nothing, decides, I will come on your human scale. Put me on one side. What will you compare me with? What do you have that you can put on the scales that will somehow determine how much I'm worth? So here's my question. How big is your God? See, if you can give me an answer that satisfies, maybe your God isn't big enough. See, because when I weigh God on the scales of life, everything that he is, everything that he's done, who he is, he says, earth is my footstool, and I got to shrink up just to do that. Heaven is my throne room. How big is your God? What do you put that weighs out? How many of our little gods does it take to equal the power and gravitas of the God of heaven? See, I don't know about you, but I have found that there is nothing in life, individually or collectively, that is as big as my God. But like you, and like all of us from time to time, we kick God off the scales and spend our priority time weighing out our time, our measure, and our means for the little gods of wood, stone, gold, pleasure, and the like. When all we need is encompassed in a God who, no matter what we put, could never be outweighed. How big is your God? I've determined with my life that no matter the fact that I could never sing enough, preach enough, pray and praise enough to ever lift God off the scales. If I had 1,000 lifetimes, I wouldn't even come close, and neither would you. I'm determined that I'm going to lay everything on the altar of my life to show God what it is He's worth to me. That's my testimony. What's yours? How big is your God? That's all I have for you today. Please spend time chewing on that. Listen to it over and over. And may God bless you until we meet again. Till that time, God bless.